Today is November 3rd, 2014, and we're interviewing Russell Nicholson in Alton, Illinois. Mr. Nicholson was born on April 4th, 1937. My name is Cheryl Walker, and I'll be the interviewer.
April the 20th.
April the 20th,
Yes.
1937.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Nicholson, where were you born at?
I was born in Mammoth Spring, Arkansas, which is just on the south side of the southern Missouri state line. When you go over the hill, you're in Arkansas. So it's Mammoth Spring, Arkansas. So it's in the Ozarks. And both grandparents on both sides of my family were all living, and a lot of them were born right there in that area too. So it's family history, and I still go there. They own some property there. I go down there, and I still consider that part of my life. Mammoth Spring, Arkansas.
What were your parents' name?
My parents, my dad's name was Clifford Orr, O-R-R, Nicholson. And my mother's name was, I believe her birth certificate might say Zelma. It's either Imogene or Zelma Colley, C-O-L-L-E-Y. And she was born there too. Both of those, father and mother, are both born in the same, the same area. Mammoth Spring area takes up, when you talk to people, takes up about a 25-mile radius. The county seat is Salem, which is about 15 miles west of Mammoth Spring, Arkansas.
Did your mother work outside of the home?
No.
What did your father do?
My dad was a farm boy because his parents, that's all they did was farm all of their lives. And not only my dad, but my mother's parents, both sides. Both families were farmers, and they, I guess when I was born, they probably didn't live more than 5 miles apart, maybe closer.
Did you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have 5 kids. The oldest, a boy, James Curtis Nicholson. The next is Sherilyn Nicholson, Gail Nicholson, Christopher Nicholson, and Heather Nicholson.
Now, are those your children?
They're all my children, the 5, and we raised one of my grandsons from his most of his life.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I have one sister. Her name is Sharon Nicholson Davis. That was her married name, and she still carries that name, Sharon Davis. She's younger than me by about 5 years.
What were you doing before you entered the service?
Before I entered the service, I was a student at Alton High, right here in Alton. I spent my 10, 11, and half of the 12th grade in Alton High School here in Alton. And the junior high was right here in Alton. 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Previous to that, I spent from the 1st to the 6th almost a different school in the whole 1st grade through the 6th grade, because my dad had been in the military and World War II, and when he came home, one of the things, it was hard for people to find a place to live, and we moved a lot, and I went to a different school from the 1st grade all the way through the 6th grade. So I had that experience, but most of all those from the 1st grade to the 6th grade was right here in the Alton area too.
What branch of military service were you in?
I was in the U.S. Navy, and it's kind of interesting because the day that I joined the U.S. Navy, I just wanted to join the U.S. Navy. But the Navy is kind of, the Navy has its own Air Force, and it has its own ships, and in later years they had their own, they called them the CBs, and different, which was trained to be on the ground fighters and so on so forth. But I just joined the Navy, and I did it for a reason, because at that, and also during the high school time, I worked at the Elmway Drive-In. 2.5 years, all the way through high school I worked. And it was, I just had a unique experience working for, at the drive-in and going through high school. I had, at the drive-in was a place where everybody gathered after the football games, that sort of thing. I knew all the students, but anyway, that was part of the schooling. And the reason I quit in the middle of my senior year, because I was getting kind of, a lot of guys at that time was going into the service and different things, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to, what I wanted to do. Anyway, that summer, which was the summer of '55, a lot of the buddies, bunch of us, we got in the car one time, went over to St. Louis, and about 2 of them joined the reserves, and I didn't join then. I didn't know what to do, but I went to anyway, all the different recruiters, Army, Navy. Anyway, went to the Navy recruiter, and he said, he said, the only thing you're going to high school for is to get a diploma. If you can take this IQ test, and if you pass it, we'll give you a book, and you can get you a diploma from hundreds of high schools. You're wasting your time going to school if that's the only reason you're going. And basically that's what I did. I never, there's another story there, but I never got my high school diploma until later. But actually, I had graduated officially with the U.S. Navy before my graduating class at Alton High graduated. They graduated in June of '56, and I'd already, and the reason I didn't they gave me a book about that thick of high schools throughout the United States that they'd send me the diploma, probably cost me $20 or something. But I wanted it from Alton High, and I still have the letter. The Alton High letter said, because by then I was in the Navy, and I just decided to do it, so I wrote the letter to Alton High, and I got the letter home, said, you meet all the requirements But our requirement here at Alton High in Illinois is you have to be 24 years old. I wasn't. So I had to wait. And I waited. I mean, all years going by, you know, and everything. And finally, one of the guys that was a congressman from Illinois, he ran an ad in the Alton Telegraph that said he was trying to get the law passed that anybody that was in the military could get their high school diploma. And I thought, well, now wait a minute, you know, I'm supposed to get mine anyway. So I went to Alton High, and I talked to them, and they really didn't know what to think about that. Anyway, I got the Alton High diploma sitting on my shelf at home with the little printing on there, Perseverance. But that's why I went into the Navy.
What did you do in the Navy?
Well, it was, I joined the Navy just because I wanted, I'd already knew that I was getting a high school diploma. I just wanted some adventure. I wanted, like the saying was, join the Navy and see the world. Well, I seen 3/4 of it twice. But I did join the Navy, and during all those years I was going to grade school and high school, mainly in high school. I took all even in junior high, I took all the mechanical things, welding and machine shop and you name it all, I knew it all. I had the machine shop and welding and electricity, basic electricity, all those things I learned at Alton High. Some of it in junior high. Junior high, when you took shop, junior high you took shop, you took woodwork, all kinds of stuff, you know, painting. I even learned painting and all that. But when I got into the Navy and joined the Navy, we went up to boot camp, Great Lakes. Coldest place you ever been in your life then. It isn't that cold up there now, but it was cold then. We got off the train at Great Lakes, and there was about a foot of snow in the middle of January. But we went through boot camp. Everybody's the same. It was kind of interesting, and I think somehow that it should be, often think it should be requirements or something like that, because you went in and you just learned all kinds of, you learned how to make a bed and take showers and different things. Taught people things, you know. All of the personal hygienes, and then a lot of other stuff they taught us, you know. But then we got out, there was this is something I got to say while I'm still thinking about it. When I joined here in Alton, Illinois, our company was called the Abe Lincoln Company. You're not going to hear that anywhere else or any other time. Because at that time, I didn't know it, but there was kind of like President Eisenhower kind of had a little secret war going on, getting started, and they were recruiting all over the United States for young guys to come in. And the group that I joined with from Alton here, there's about, I don't know, I think there was maybe 15 of us, maybe a little more, right from this Alton area. And we all got together, and guys from Tennessee and Kentucky, we all were sworn in St. Louis. But through our boot camp at Great Lakes, we were still called the Abe Lincoln Company. And I have a picture of that, and I tried to get a better picture from the Alton Telegraph, but it's really not too clear, but it's still a picture with all of our names, the guys from Alton here. And there was about 3 or 4 of us from Alton High. Did the same thing I did. They just wanted to get into the service. I had to say that before I would forget it, because it's important with the Alton area and so on. But there was 3 of us, and we didn't know. I know that, later I found out. But there was an aircraft carrier coming into Seattle area, Bremerton, and they was going to be recruiting guys to go on the carrier, the Hornet. And anyway, the reason I said that is because there was, when our company started, there was 125 of us. And when it was over and graduated, there was only 78 of us left. I don't know all different reasons why. Some of them graduated later and different reasons, whatever. But anyway, there was the guys all from Alton. We left Great Lakes and got on the train there in Chicago and came right here to Alton. And I don't know, there was a couple of guys from Cottage Hills, and then anyway, there was about 10 of us, whatever it was, right here from Alton. And then there was 3 of us that our orders were. And the other guys, we never knew where half of them were going, But 3 of us, our orders were to catch the train from here to San Francisco. So we got to San Francisco. We were, you'd call it a holding company. And we were there for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And 2 of us, me and my buddy, the 3 of us was from Alton that went to San Francisco. One guy that went to San Francisco, they kept him down there someplace at some base down there in the Bay Area somewhere. And me and my other buddy, we got our orders to go up to Whidbey Island, which is Oak Harbor, Washington. It's about by car, it's about 90 miles driving to Seattle. Or if you took the ferry, it'd be only like 40 miles. That's kind of a joke, but it's kind of an interesting thing. And anyway, me and my buddy, we took the plane out of the Bay Area, and it was an old DC-3. There's another term for that in the military. I can't think of, CV-47 or something. But we took that plane, and I think there was 4 of us that was going up there, and I'll never forget it because it was a nice sunny day, and everything's flying. Everything is good flying. And we got about halfway up. It's 1,000 miles from Frisco to Seattle. Got about flying up all along the shore, you could probably see the shoreline off to our right, probably 50 miles away or whatever, because you get up higher, you can see farther. One of the engines quit, and I thought to myself, I said, my first flight an airplane, and we're either going to get killed or ditch or have to be landing out there in the ocean somewhere, you know. And me and my buddy, we were talking about that, and anyway, the pilots, one of them come back and said, we got only one engine, but the weather's fine. The weather's fine in Seattle, so we're going with it. So we flew on up, and we landed up there at Woodby Island, Alt Field, and and as it turned out, you know, we landed there, and it was on my birthday, April 20th, 1956. We got off the plane, and you know, a couple of Navy guys there, you know, they're picking us up, you know, and welcome to the Rock. And I said to somebody, I said, the Rock? I said, they told us there in boot camps on the old salts that this was one of the best places to be stationed in the Navy. I said, what are you saying, welcome to the Rock? You'll find out. But it was true. Even to this day, I think that particular area is the best area in the part of the world I've ever been. But like the story was, you have to be around for about a year to see all the seasons and see what's here and all that stuff. So the first few months, and like I say, I was enjoying it. A lot of guys, you know, young guys complaining because they had to swab decks and different things. I just got a kick out of it because I wasn't going to school. I wasn't working at the Amway Drive-In here in Alton. And you know, no matter what it was, at the end of the day, you could do that on that island, that particular area, you know. I just walk out of the base and stick my thumb up, and there's always, you know, one or two of us hitchhiking into town that's 15 miles away, you know. There was always sailors, you know, that had cars and everything, and having cars was I did everything. I swabbed floors and talking about guys picking you up. I got into mess cooking, did that for 3 months, and in the chow hall, there was a bunch of, we got pretty close knit, you know, the guys that was in the chow hall. A lot of guys complaining and hated it. With me, I enjoyed it. They had me in the deep sink where the guys would bring their trays and dump their trays out, and I was in there, and I used to sing a lot back in those days, but that's another story. But we set it up on the chow line. If some guy come through with his tray that we had seen driving his car out, and we're sticking our thumb up and they didn't stop, we'd signal. First guy that seen him, you know, right down all the chow line, you know, the guys. That guy got terrible. Come close to getting into some fights because whenever he had his tray, he said that somebody just slopped them mashed potatoes down on there, you know. But that particular, the first 6 months, I just did all kinds of different jobs, everything. I enjoyed it because it was the summer. Beautiful area. You know, whenever we'd have the noon, like in the chow hall, we'd have breakfast, and then we'd be out for a few hours, and then But after lunch, we'd have, I can't remember exactly what time the lunch hour stopped. Let's say 1 o'clock or something. But we'd have from 1 o'clock till about 4:30, I guess. And it was only 3-4 miles to the nearest beach. Beautiful beaches. We'd always, somebody all had an old junk car, a bunch of us get in the car and we'd go out to the beach and just, I was just having a beautiful time.
Were you always stationed in Washington?
Washington was my home base. Now, when we got to the first base, it was at a place called Alt Field, and and by then, me and my buddy got there. It flew up, but there's a bunch of other guys that went from boot camp that went there too. So we knew each other.
And where was Alt Field at?
Alt Field was, I guess it's about 5 miles west, straight west of the town of Oak Harbor. And the Alt Field set right on the Pacific Ocean shoreline. And 5 miles to the east at Alt Field, you were on the inland area of the Pacific Ocean. So it was only 5 miles from one place to the other, and we were there I was there at Alt Field for until mid-July, and we'd already, the word always gets around that there was guys that was getting sent to go aboard the ship, the Hornet, which is at Bremerton on the other side of Seattle. And where my bunk was at, there was another guy there that he was, I don't know, he had a buddy, and he said, we were talking one day, and he said, they're starting to make out the list for the guys to go on the Hornet. He said, my buddy's a personnelman. Now, you're not supposed to do this, but that's life. He said, my buddy's taking my name off of the list for $5. I says, you can put me down for $5 too. I don't want to go on that Hornet. I didn't even know where I wanted to go. I gave him $5, and they did. I can't remember now how many, but there were several guys, all of us that went through boot camp that went on the Hornet that was there. But I didn't have to go, and finally, about a month later, they said, somebody told me, I don't know who it was, said, Nicholson, you're going over to the seaplane base, and which is a separate squadron. And I said, that sounds all right to me. I'd rather be on those airplanes rather than be on that ship. So I got my orders. It was July the 19th. But that's why I can write a book about it, because it was kind of, when I was there at Alt Field, I took a test, and I made airman, which is a step above seamen and airmen apprentices. Seamen and air apprentices, they had 2 stripes. I took that test, and you had a waiting time, which, I don't know, a couple of months or something after you got out of boot camp. Anyway, I took the test, so I got 3 stripes. Now, all this background I had in the schools, high school, welding. I was a proficient welder in arc and acetylene, and I knew had my own bicycle shop at home at my house from the time I was in the 6th grade. We weren't rich or nothing like that. We had a bigger house and we had a garage in the basement, and I had my bicycle shop out of there. And so when I know one time there at when we were still there in Fazron 112 Alt Field, there'd be 20 guys of us standing there because people were drafted then, and there was several guys, quite a few there, that they was just waiting out a little time for their discharge. They didn't want to do nothing or anything. Anyway, somebody said something to me. Anyway, I was the only guy out of these guys that go out and work on an airplane. And that's just the way life was, because I built 3 model airplanes in junior high. I knew what wings and ailerons and tail empennages were, and I knew about airplanes. And I did a little bit. And they sent me to, this is in all this 3 months time period that's going by before I got into VP 50. They sent me to a few weeks schooling, learning about that squadron. Then was a P2V land-based plane. They sent me to school on that, and I learned the hydraulics, the fuel systems, and some of the electronics in the P2V. Now, I'm just a 19-year-old kid, but I knew something. So anyway, they sent me to a few weeks airman school, which is what enabled me to take the test to get to be an airman. Anyway, we got transferred over to the Seaplane Squadron, and the day we got there was something like 20 of us that got transferred from the one base, Naval Air Station, to the seaplane base. Now, the seaplane base hadn't been used for years. I don't know, it might have been at the beginning of the Korean War when the original seaplane squadron was there, but it wasn't the same planes as when I got there. And there was about 20 of us, I guess, that checked in there. And I was a 3-stripe airman, but what it was secret squadron, just starting, brand new planes. The first day we went into the hangar, there wasn't a plane there. There wasn't a plane on the parking strip. They called it the tarmac. There was no planes at all. But they also sent a bunch of us to boot camp. To mess cooking. But anyway, all this is going on. The new planes start coming in, and with some people that knew about the airplanes or knew something about seaplanes. But by the time I got out of mess cooking, which was 3 months, and that's part of the story that's interesting to me, is because there was guys that'd been in the military 10 years, because they'd been in, I remember a couple of guys that were E6s that'd been in I don't know, 10 years, whatever, you know, talking to him. It said, you know, we got drafted or joined right at the tail end of World War II, and we just got kicked around, and you know, I don't know a damn thing. Some guys just got promoted just because they were good guys fighting in the Navy on ships and different things. They just promoted them from seamen apprentices to seamen right on, you know, and so that first 1956, the guys didn't wear no stripes. Guys didn't know, you know, including me. They just wore the dungaree shirts, dungaree pants, and I had it happen to me, you know, as time went by, the chief would say, Nicholson, I want you to go out there and do something on the plane or something, and he'd turn these other two guys, Jones and Jackson, you're going with Nicholson, and Nicholson's in charge. So we go out to the planes and we do something.
Is that when you worked on, or was that the VP-50?
Yes. Yeah.
So when did that become a VP-50?
It was VP-50 whenever the first, I guess you'd call them the first personnelmen came to the base first. There was, as far as I know, there was two of them that would just, as we came in, you know, and gave them our papers and signed our name and who we were and so on. You're going mess cooking, you know, and that sort of thing. But as time went by, the people would start coming in, and there was, all told, when the complement was filled, there was 225 enlisted men and 75 officers. That was the complement of the number of people in that squadron. And the planes would start coming in, and that's the other thing. Those planes were brand new. I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but I, you know, eventually found out about it, that President Eisenhower had those seaplanes. They had a seaplane, P5M1, was already had been flying for several years, but President Eisenhower had those planes redone with special gear and so on to monitor the U-2 airplanes. And that's, I didn't know it right then. It took me time to find out. But the planes are new. That's why when everybody gathered in, you know, some of the older guys and younger guys, the chief, if he wanted something done, if he knew some guy standing there knew how to do whatever it was if he wanted done, he'd say, Nicholson, I want you to do this or that, and it worked plenty different ways. But I had, I don't know, I still got the roster. I might have had, I don't know, let's say 20 guys that was younger rated than me, sometimes I'd be in charge of them because I was a three-striper already. And some of them were 17, 18 years old and was only had two stripes, you know, which was just what you got when you got out of boot camp 6 months. And it was just an unbelievable time.
After working in the mess hall, what were your job duties?
Okay, when I was in the mess hall, like I said, I was having a good time during that time. I actually told some of my superiors, I don't want to go back into the shop anymore. I don't want to go down there. I want to stay right. I want to be a cook. And they put me in as a cook helper. And I still had the airman stripes, but as a cook's helper, we had cook's liberty. We'd work. Let's see, how did it work? We'd work 3 days and be off 4. We'd work 4 days and be off 3. Every other weekend I got off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Cook's liberty. Man, I was just happiest kid in the world. Other guys walking around moping, and to me, I was just having a great time. Now that's when I was still mess cooking. I really didn't want to get out of it, but the squadron was getting ready. That was in '56, and the squadron was training because they knew that we were going to go in '57, that we were going to go overseas. So anyway, they called me back into the shop, but I volunteered for everything. I did compartment cleaning, which meant that you went back, you stayed in the barracks, you mustered in the morning in the hangar, went back up to the barracks and swept floors and stuff. I'm just whistling and having fun, and I did all of that stuff. Anyway, they during all that time period, they would put me working with people, and I didn't care what I did, but when I was kind of working with the people in the shop and everything, there was guys there that, especially farm guys, young guys, 17, right off the farm, they didn't know anything. And I just had a lot of experience doing stuff.
Can you tell me what the VP-50 actually is?
Okay, the V, I asked as years went by. I remember asking one, what does the V stand for? The V in front of anything stood for V for victory as well as fighting unit. V for victory. V, P, and the P stood for patrol. Right there. Patrol. And that's what the seaplanes did. And we trained. I didn't know it at the time, but that's what we were training to monitor the U-2 planes that President Eisenhower had specially built. If you get this Area 51 book, she tells all of that in there.
So were you at Area 51?
No, but I knew what it was later, because as time went by, I worked, when I got discharged, now this is jumping a few years, when I got discharged from the Navy, by then I decided I wasn't going to stay in as a career, that I was getting discharged. So I got married. Me and the wife, we went down to Oakland, California. And actually, I didn't know that I really wasn't planning on staying in Oakland. I was either going to go to Los Angeles or to Las Vegas, because they were anyway, there was a lot of golfing going on there, and I thought I'd go out there. Some guy told me, well, if you can't find a job you're looking for, go out there and they need golfers. And again, I was just feeling my way around in the world with my wife by then, but we got to Oakland. And anyway, the first day I went looking for a job, the first day I went to we were staying in a motel in San Francisco, crossed the bridge, went over to Oakland, and the first place I went, because I was an aircraft mechanic, that's what I was. And first place I went, they said, we don't need any mechanics now, but there's a place on down the road there by the airport on down the road that I think they're doing some hiring. So I went down there, and that was Lockheed Aircraft was hiring. So anyway, I went in there. There's about 20 of us sitting in there, you know. And they kept, one at a time, this guy would come out and says, you so-and-so, because we filled out our applications. And it come down to the very last two guys sitting there. This guy on my right, he's wanting to be a test pilot for Lockheed. And I'm sitting next to him. Anyway, all the other guys are gone. This guy comes out. He says, George, whatever, come on in with me. He says, you Nicholson? I said, yeah. He says, don't you go anywhere. I got a job for you. That's almost the exact words the guy said. Okay.
Did you tell him did you tell him what aircraft she worked on?
I can't remember what the planes were. I might have.
When you were.
But the thing I put on the application, because the last job I had in the Navy, I was in charge of the paint shop. I was in charge of the paint shop. And, you know, a whole gray area there as to why I was put in charge of the paint shop, but that's what I did, and that's what I put on that application, and that's what that guy said. Don't go nowhere. I got a job for you. So we went in. I mean, he finally come in, and whatever question you asked me is why I was getting ready to say this part of it. He said, you know, started asking me about airplanes and different things, you know, and he asked me, you know anything about the U-2? I says, well, yeah, you know, it's just, you know, it's just an airplane to me. Don't really mean that much, you know. It's I've seen them and so on, and he talked to me about that for about 15 minutes, and he hired me, everything. And the reason he hired me, because he wanted me, and he put me in charge. They were repainting 30 F-80 jet planes to give to the Brazilian Air Force. And there I was. And anyway, as I walked out of his office, the guy sitting at his desk, he said he worked on the first U-2 plane they built down there at the Skunk Works. Now that's the way it was. And I said, yeah, okay. So I worked there for the best part of, I guess it was that was in January. And I got to know enough about him and the U-2 planes. He told me, because he worked on the very first U-2 plane at the Skunk Works, because he was picking my brain because it's still top secret, top world secret. Gary Powers hadn't been down yet. So he told me lots of things and about that's why I knew things about Area 51 and what they did with the U-2s. I knew about that before anybody else did, period. And it just goes on and on. Just unbelievable.
Did you?
I can tell you the guy's name too, but.
Did you ever see a U-2?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Where did you see it?
The U-2s, now this is the story, is because the U-2 planes would take off, if you read the books. I didn't know where they took off from. All I knew is they took off from somewhere in Europe. They took off from Germany and Turkey, and they flew across Russia. And when they flew across Russia, the first point they went, because if you look at a map, Tokyo, Japan is just a little south of Vladivostok, Russia. At that point in time, the distance from Tokyo, northern tip of Japan, and Vladivostok, Russia, probably couldn't be 100 miles. I mean, I'm not positive on that, but it's because where our base was to South Korea was 125 miles, that Japanese inland sea. But they would fly, the main point they would fly to Atsugi, Japan. That's where the big Marine air base was at. And about 500 miles south of there was Iwakuni, Japan, our base. And then on down, the next base was at Taiwan, which then was Formosa, Taiwan. So those U-2 planes would fly across. Now, most of them would fly to Atsugi. Weather's good, everything's fine. They would land there. And sometimes, if the weather was bad, they'd land at Iwakuni. And when they landed at Iwakuni, because the base at Iwakuni was a land-based airfield with the small seaplane base on the shoreline. So sometimes those U-2 planes would just be sitting there. They'd fly in to Iwakuni and they'd park them there. To my memory, there'd either be, I want to say 2 or 3. I can't really remember. I know there was always 2 of them sitting there. Not all the time. Because we would take the bus from our barracks to the seaplane hangar and the shoreline and all, the ramp and everything. And we had to fly around the tail end of the airfield, and there them planes would be sitting there. And I never touched one. I never worked on one, but I seen them, and I swear right now, as I'm saying, me and my buddy was sitting on they call it the bucho, the bus. He said, "Let's go over there. Let's go over there and look at the plane." I said, I don't want to look at them damn things. They ain't nothing but black gliders, and they look like gliders. I mean, like I said, I put together 3 model airplanes during my time. I knew what jets were and all that. That thing sitting there just looked like a big black glider sitting there. I said, I ain't wasting my time with that. But
did they tell you that was top secret?
No. They never. Nobody ever told me in that squadron that anything was top secret. And I don't really recall anybody ever telling us or me that anything was secret. It's just things that you pick up. Like, I didn't have to swear my secrecy until I was made a member of the flight crew. The second time over. First time over to Iwakuni, Japan, is like I said, I was having fun in my life. I wasn't trying to make rank. I wasn't trying to. I was just enjoying myself. The first time over, because I went to the chief of the shop in the States when we were getting ready to go over, and I went to see the chief because I was working at that time on the night check crew. Night check crew went to work at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m., and worked most of the time. They got off about 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 at the most. At that point in time, I was doing that. And I went to the chief and I said, Chief, are you going to leave me on this night check crew when we get over in Japan? And he said, yeah. The reason I said that is because at that point in time, I could have got transferred back to the main base at Alt Field. I didn't want to go to Japan. I was there at Alt Field. I could have went back to Alton Field in one of the other squadrons and stayed there, because by then I knew the island had a few young ladies that I was associated with in the area. I didn't want to go to Japan. I didn't want to go. Anyway, we got to Japan first day. This is the first cruise over. First day, he mustered everybody, and anyway, they said, name guys off, and he called my name, and I'm supposed to go back into the shop with the crew. I went over to him. I said, Chief, I thought you was going to put me on night check. He said, can't do it, Nicholson. You're going to have to stay on this. You're going to have to go back. And they had just posted a sign on this building. They called it the leading chief's office. They just posted a sign on there wanting volunteers to go in special services. So I said, well, I won't use these words. The heck with you, Chief. I went up, signed my name on there. I didn't know what special services was, but I didn't want to go back into the shop. So anyway, he was against it, and he didn't want me to go. But some guys that wanted some people to go into special services, they said, "Well, look, he wants to go. We want him. Let's take him." And there was about 5 or 6 of us that signed up for that, and anyway. Special services. Now, you interested in this? You want me to tell you this? So, got into special services, and it was a Naval Air Station group. They were putting together a crew to go 5 miles up the shoreline and build a recreational swimming beach with a concession stand, called Henderson Beach. And so there we went. There was the guys that was with me and right now talking, I don't know, 3 or 4 other guys that signed up to go up to to be in that crew. Well, we did. We went up there every day, and we built a beach. We built a concession stand, and the guy that was over us, his name, I won't say what his name was, but he was he only had like 2 years to go. He was first class in E6 waiting for his discharge. And he was just putting in his time there. He had about 1.5 years to go or something. And he was in charge of us guys. And his wife was running the concession stand. Now the concession stand, beer, I don't remember if there was any wine, beer, soda, hot dog, the whole bit. Anyway, one of us, he was a senior to the other 3 or 4 of us that came out of the squadron. So he was always kind of our boss, because when you was in the military, rank and seniority meant something. And that was in April when we got there, and this was about mid-May, something like that. Concession stand is done and all that, Anyway, this guy come up to me, and his job was driving a 3-wheel motorcycle truck, and the truck was actually the bed on the truck was bigger than a truck bed in a pickup truck here in the States. In the front of it, we used to call them Harley Hogs, Harley Davidson motorcycles in the front, and they were hooked together. So it was a 3-wheel motorcycle truck, and you sat on it, just the guy driving it, just like the motorcycle. And on the one side of it, there's a little seat where I guess 2 people could actually get in there if they scrounged up together. And anyway, one particular day, this guy come up to me and he said, "Nick," he says, I heard you knew how to ride a motorcycle." I said, "Yeah, I used to own a couple of them." He says, "Why don't you go put in a chit," which is what you do in the service, which is a form, to go get your license to drive this motorcycle, because I just got my orders. They want me to come back into the squadron, and they want me to be a duty driver. Duty driver was a guy driving a truck or something for the first lieutenant, just anyway. I did, and as it turned out, and he'd been senior to us, and it turned out that I was one of 2 things. I was either senior in the service, the other 3 or 4, or I outranked him. Okay, what happened? What happened? And I love telling this story. What happened was the master sergeant got word from his I don't know, his mother or somebody back in San Francisco, that his dad was pretty bad and they wanted him to come home. So off he went. They gave him 30 days travel time, 30 days annual leave, and 30 days to get back. I never seen the guy again. So what happened? I'm the guy driving the motorcycle truck now, and I'm senior to. And there was when we first started, there was the same number of Japanese workers as there was sailors. By this time, they're all gone. The only ones left are the ones that was in the squadron with me, and there was a couple other guys from someplace else that was there. I'm in charge. I was in charge. And I love telling it because nobody had what I had. Back then, if you had midnight liberty, if you wasn't an E4 or E3, I guess. No, E4, I guess. If you wasn't a petty officer, E4, you had to be back into the base at midnight. That was for Marines, sailors, everybody, because there was Marines on that bay. I had a permanent overnight pass. I could go in or out the gate any time I wanted. I had the 3-wheel motorcycle, and I was the only other person on that base of, I don't know, 3,000 people or more. There was one other vehicle there at the time, and it was an old 1949 Nash sedan, and the only people that could use that was the skipper or somebody. I had permanent Liberty card. Permanent. I didn't have to go see anybody or get anything. I had a permanent overnight pass, had permanent Liberty card. I never made a muster the whole time. I was doing that for the rest of the time till I was called back into the squadron. That was the whole summer of '57. What else?
When
Unbelievable.
you went to Japan twice.
Yes.
Okay, after Japan, did you get out, or where'd you go from there?
When I came back from Japan, that was in April of '59. April of '59, came back from Japan, which was the second cruise for me, most of us. I stayed in until I got discharged in December the 17th, 1959. So I had to stay there until my discharge.
And where were you?
I was back at Altfield, Oak Harbor, Washington. Not at Oakfield, I was back at the seaplane base at Oak Harbor, Washington.
Did you go to Japan on a ship?
I got a buddy that was in the Army, and he always throws it up to me. He says, I got more time on a ship than you do, because the only time I was only aboard ship twice. Once when we were training flights in the seaplanes, and we would out that day. We didn't take any lunches with us, so we had to land about 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the Juan de Fuca Straits to a ship there, and they sent a boat out to us, took us on the ship, fed us, we got back on and took off. That's one time. The other time is when the first cruise over there, my buddy was on that famous Hornet ship, aircraft carrier, came in. And somehow he got the word to me. I don't know whether it was by phone or letter or what, I don't remember now. But he was on the ship and wanted me to come out there. So the Liberty landing boat stopped right there at the seaplane base, right there by our hangar. So I was still on my base. And I had my old dungarees on, been working all day at 4:30, later. So I got on the Liberty boat, went out there to the Hornet, and I was out there, found him, and we talked and carried on a little bit, and he uh, he had to put his dress blues on, because on that Hornet, the way they were doing, they let everybody off according to rank. You know, not the officers, but the enlisted men. E6s would go out first, and E5, E4. And I never forget it, because my buddy, he had his blues on, white hat, you know, looking sharp, and he went through the line, and there's two guys here and two guys here, you know, Marines, you know, and one of them said to him, "Well, George, we got another one of them coming up, because there I am standing in my dungarees, my work clothes." And I walked up there. They just had a fit, you know. Finally, I had to tell them my story. I says, "I'm on my base." I says, "I'm going back," you know, and here's a big shake-up, because I was a lad. We were just, my buddy was a seaman then, and I was an airman, so we was getting off last. And, but they had to go to the skipper and call our base and, you know, who is this guy? What the hell's he doing out here? You know, and they let me go. I'll never forget that. That was something. That's 2 times I was on a ship in the Navy. So to say, I talked to a lot of people, you know, a lot of guys, they don't have any stories to tell, really. I do. Boy, I got a lot of them.
Well, Mr. Nicholson, I think we've got a heck of a story. And I want to say I appreciate your time. And not only that, I appreciate the time that you gave to our country. And I appreciate that I was the one that you let interview you today.
Well,
thank you.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I could talk for hours and hours, because it was an experience. Now tomorrow I'm going out to SIU campus out there, and and I was the one that actually got it started a few years back, because when this Annie Jacobs book came out, I talked to some people. I said, well, why? Anyway, out there at SIU, there's this big long room, and I set stuff up, you know, pictures and different things, and I talk about the Navy, and there's also the Army, Air Force, all the other groups. They all have their little section, and I stand there and talk. Anybody that'll listen to me, just like I'm talking to you. And I think it's really good for young guys and young people to hear things, because young people, they don't know what they want to do. They don't know. And like with me, I have experiences. I love things that I did. Why I didn't stay in the Navy as a career, I don't know. Well, I do, but then that's another story. But I went into the post office, and I retired from the post office. But people should know from, just like what I've been talking to you about. If you don't know what you're going to be doing in your life, military is a good thing. If you sign up, you can go in for 2 years. You can get to know yourself, know a little bit about the world. Like I mentioned there earlier, I've seen part of it. I figured 3/4 of the way around the world. I went all across the islands in Japan, and flew up and down the inland sea, and I saw the world, and you learn things that you you might want to do when you want to be a civilian. And if you go into the service, you can get college credit for the time. You can be you know, a lot of things. And I enjoy talking about that.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
700 pages, but I only went to